Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to another video of Victor Tango Aviation series. In this video, I'll be telling you small things that you should know about pilot training in abroad. So let's get started. And today, I have a very special guest along with me, and he is Captain Sanjay Akela. He is the chief flying instructor of an international flying school. So let's roll in the intro. Wait. Just a small disclaimer. This video will be around 30 minutes or so. So just watch the entire part of it, because if you watch a very few part of it, you'll not get the entire knowledge or the entire idea about it. So I'll be putting timestamps on the description below for your convenience. So let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today it's very fortunate of me to have Captain Sanjay, who is a flying instructor in an international flying school. So most of you have questions regarding flying trainings, pilot trainings abroad or overseas in overseas schools. So I have framed some few questions as per your requests, and Captain Sanjay will answer those questions and will put up some relevant points which are related to aviation or which are related to the pilot training, and we'll just listen from Captain Sanjay.
Hello everyone, I'm Sanjay. That was a good introduction. I've been a flight instructor for the last 10 years now. I've worked in multiple countries so far. So Subranjan, he asked me if I could talk to him and let people know what and how to become a pilot and what are the steps involved, especially for a lot of Indians prefer going to the US. So answer most basic questions, the basic doubts that people have on how to the whole process, what to do and what not. So here I am. Thanks for the opportunity, Subranjan, so I can answer all these questions, and let's begin.
So the very first question is not related to pilot training, it's related about this career. What it takes for an individual to start his or her training, I mean the pilot training, in either US or India, it's not a factor, but what it takes?
Country is irrespective where you do your training. Before
Yes,
you think of becoming one, don't look at the lifestyle of what pilots have, like the famous ones, right? Don't look at that and expect it to be a smooth ride. All those people, they worked for years and years before they got where they are. So it's not an easy ride like any other field. So unless you have a true passion for aviation, you love the sky, you want to be there, and you think that you belong in the sky, get in. And the first step is always the harder one, but once you take it, it'll get easier.
okay, understood, sir. It's all about passion, I think, and passion and the aim one individual has. So it all takes about it, sir, right, sir?
Yes, because in these last 10 years, I heard a lot of reasons why people are doing their flight training, why they want to become pilots. And about 99% of the time, everyone says it's because of the money they are going to get once they become a pilot. So that it is kind of a mixed feeling for me. I can't really take it that way. You should be having a true passion where you actually love flying, and anything that comes like money, fame and whatnot, they are just a byproduct of your passion. So unless you have your passion where it belongs, the byproducts, they'll never come up to you.
Okay, sir. So the next question is about today's situation, and every day we are saying that several airlines worldwide, they are going bankrupt or shutting down operations temporarily. So in the pre-COVID times, especially in India, we have seen the aviation sector is booming, and many of the aspiring pilots are getting trained and being hired by the airlines in India. so or any airline worldwide. But the thing is that as of today, is it worth to invest so much of money, around 30-40 lakhs, and then your airline training, it will cost you around 20 lakhs? Is it worth it to get a training which costs this much?
Perfect question. Pre-COVID or post-COVID, right? Let's talk about
Yes,
the
sir.
previous instances where aviation market actually went down.
Yes.
The ones I remember is the 2001 9/11, 2008 financial crisis, and now the
Yes.
COVID. And in all three events, which are completely different from each other, the first field that was affected was aviation. And every single, the last couple of times, it bounced back in couple of years. So even COVID, once the whole pandemic ends, everything should go back to normal. Because always remember,
Yes.
there is once everything goes back to normal, the demand is always there. It never went away. Now, because of the restrictions of each country and certain even cities for now, the demand is not so much. So when you have no people to fly the aircrafts, it's not worth it for an airline to fly it. So that's how the market eventually goes down. Now, when the vaccine does show up, give it 2 years, 3 years, eventually it will come back. But by then, you still have the retirements which are going, people who are retiring. It's not about how many years you flew, it's what is your
Yes.
actual age, right? 65 years mandatory that you retire. So
Yes.
people will still reaching 65 no matter what, they'll still be retiring. And when the whole thing comes back to normal, the boom will automatically come back because the demand will have to catch up to the supply as well.
Okay. That's, we all of us have got an overview about the aviation sector, which is really gonna improvise or get a boost up once again in the recent future. So now coming to our topic about the pilot training in abroad. So to start a flight training in either India or abroad, we just need to go to medical centers in India and complete our class 2 and class 1 medicals. So now we have two options, sir. Either to complete our DGCA CPL papers beforehand, or to complete your flying training first and then clear your DGCA papers. So what do you think is good for an individual?
Number one, DGCA before or after. For me, I wanted to do it after. The reason, first I wanted to finish my flight training. You never know how long it takes. For sometimes you can finish it up in 6 months, and sometimes it can go up to 2 or 3 years, depending on your performance, the weather conditions, the aircrafts, the instructors. There are so many factors involved. So papers, I believe they're only valid for 2 years, right?
No, sir, 5 years.
5 years. So in that 5 years, you have to apply for your conversion. So in some cases that may or may not be possible. You always have to look at both sides, the pros and what if kind of a scenario. So I would suggest you finishing up your flight training as quickly as possible, either in India. Not too sure about the process in India, so don't go take my word for that. At least in the US, you can finish your complete flight training in a minimum of 6 months, and it can last up to about 14 to 16 months in total. And then you can come back, give your exams, and you can apply for your conversion, and you will be well within those 5 years, and all your hours are still valid. You can pretty much be settled, looking for a job quicker. That's what I would do.
Okay, sir. And the next thing is that as of today, we often see the several people are going to USA, South Africa, or New Zealand, and few of them are going to Australia as well. So what parameters should an individual consider when it comes to choose a particular country in which he or she intends to get trained for their...
For me, I chose FAA. The reason being, they are the first ones to fly an airplane. They are the first ones to come up with any sort of law for aviation. For some reason, I was more inspired by them for me to go do my training there. Any country, you look at their regulating authority. What are they offering? So for the US, I only did 3 exams to get my commercial. So for private pilot license, I did 1, instrument rating 1 exam, and commercial 1 exam. And the ground school and all the training was concurrent with my flight training. That's how I could finish my training faster. If you go to Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, all these are almost like the European regulating authority itself, EASA. So
Yes.
they use the same kind of pattern. Like even India, all the colonial or Commonwealth countries, they are pretty much the same. So you have 14 exams that you have to take, and do your flight training for 250 hours, and then you get your license,
Okay.
right? When you go out of a country, look for how long it's gonna last. What is the procedure for flight training? Like in some countries, they say finish all your ground school, pass all your exams, and then you do your flight training. In some countries,
Okay.
they do it concurrent. They break it down. So you finish private with so many subjects done. You finish your instrument rating with so many, and that's how they break it down. Look at that. The second, I would look at their fleet, the age of their fleet, because that tells you how long, what would be the downtime of the airplane. How long will it stay in maintenance for during your stay
Okay.
there in that school. So you can expect how long it will take to finish your training itself. Look for that. Look at the instructors. How many do they have? What is the ratio of students to instructor? The ideal ratio is 3 to 1. 3 students for 1 instructor. In some cases, you'll have 5, 6. That slows your training down.
Okay.
And the best, the last one would be weather. How is the
Okay.
weather there? What kind of weather you can expect. For example, Florida, where I did my training, all of summer you'll
Okay.
have thunderstorms every afternoon. You go to California, you have a marine layer from the Pacific that stays there forever, all of summer. You go to the northern states, all of winter, it's freezing conditions, snow everywhere, it's harder. So you really have to choose where, based on the perfect conditions, where you can find them, look at the perfect school, and then go there.
Okay. So that's it. And when it comes to the authenticity, but in India there are several agents who contact with the flying schools abroad, and they send the students for their flying training and get the CPL done. And on coming back to India, they help in license conversion. But the thing is that there are I won't name anyone, but there are several agents who do frauds, and there are several scams happening nowadays, particularly in New Delhi, because New Delhi is the hub in Ramphal Chowk. So how to check the authenticity of a particular FTO, because it's not possible for everyone to just go to in my case, I'm considering USA. I'm going to USA and checking the particular FTO in which I intend to take my training. If it is not possible, how or what is the procedure of an individual to check for the authenticity of the FTO?
I can talk about the US.
Okay.
You can always look up a flight school's information on FAA's website, faa.gov. And there are other websites like AOPA, Airline Owners and Pilots Association. They have a good database of every single flight school in the US. And it talks about Part 141 and Part 61. They are the 2 different types of schools that are in the US. And for us Indians or any foreigner, we will have to not have to, but it's beneficial for us if we go to a Part 141 school. And 141 is more, I would say, a better school, because they have to prove their worth in order to get that certification from the FAA. So you can look at these 2 websites. You have a very good listing of all the flight schools that are in the US. So that's how you can find out whether any school is good or not. And when you talked about the agents, in this age, you don't need to talk to anyone. You have your own computer, your phone. You can open up the internet, any browser, type up the website, look for the information by yourself. Don't rely on someone to tell you which school is good. That's not how it works. So that would be my advice.
Okay. So now coming to the medical section. After the completion of our class 1 and class 2 medicals, which are required by DGCA, and when we go to any foreign country, say USA, did it ever happen that a guy who has completed his medical requirements or fulfilled his medical requirements, to be precise, and did get reject in USA due to because he couldn't fulfill the requirements? Did it ever happen?
Not that I can remember, because in the US, for a class 1 medical, if you're under the age of 40, the basic things they do is they check your blood. Correction, they don't check your blood. They only check your urine, your eyesight, your heart rate, and that's it. That's it. So I believe in India they do a lot more.
Yes, sir. Lot more checks. Around 14 to 15 checks in class 1 medicals.
Exactly, because in the US they want people to fly. Over there they look at flying as something that should be for all, not for a specific class of people. So medical in the US, it's not a big problem unless you have some pre-existing conditions such as diabetes, cancer, HIV, and so on. So unless you have any of those, you shouldn't have a problem. Like one of the guy I know, he was missing these 2 fingers until here. So he was given a medical. He can fly like anyone else. So in India that wouldn't be possible.
No, sir. Not anytime, sir. So we got an overview of this, and coming to the exams part, we often hear that the exams in USA or any country other than South Africa are pretty easy compared to DGCA CPL papers. So is it true, or is this just a myth or a rumor?
It depends on how you say it. If you're you study a lot, you understand every sentence that's written in a book, any exam would be easy for you. Let it be DGCA or the FAA. The exams, they test you based on what you're going to be doing. So what license you're going to be getting. So for private license, they're not going to ask you about a 747 or a 777. In India, they do. That is the biggest difference. In the US, they ask you about what you're going to be flying. So a piston airplane, right? So the questions are tailored towards that. As you move on, like for each specific rating, like for instrument rating, they'll ask you about the systems of the airplane. So every aircraft you fly, you know the systems. In India, that's a separate exam for you, right?
Yes.
Type tech, that's what you call it.
Yes, sir. Technical specific.
The same thing. So in the US, it's part of your check ride, where in the oral part of the check ride, they'll talk to you ask you about your knowledge of the systems. It's all broken down. It's more systematic. It's more efficient, I would say, because of the general aviation traffic in the US. So, how difficult is the exam? It can be difficult if you're not prepared.
Okay. So, can you just tell us about the subjects that are in the CPL course under FAA?
It's not a subject, it's what you need to know. Aviation is one subject in the US, the whole thing, right? So whether you have the basic aircraft systems, you have the airspaces, you have regulations, it all falls under one. It's not separate. So the way they tell us or teach us, or I teach, is this is what you need to know in order to fly an airplane. It's not just to pass an exam, but this is what you need to fly an airplane.
Okay, I understand. Recently, we saw several accidents happening in India, in Gati or in flight IX1344. So it did have an impact on the trainees and as well as the families of the trainees. So, what's your take on this? What's your take as a flying instructor?
So let me ask you. You ride a motorcycle, yes?
Yes, sir.
You drive a car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever seen any car crash or a bike crash?
Yes, sir. A day before yesterday, I saw in front of me
Perfect.
a truck crashed.
So, did that scare you? Are you gonna stop driving your car or your bike?
No, no, sir. No, sir.
Why not?
Because it's practical that every thing on this earth has its pros and cons. So it will obviously have.
Okay.
We should consider this as the cons of driving or flying anything.
Okay. So, if you ask me, driving on a road is more dangerous than flying an airplane. Now, flying an airplane, yes, it is stressful, it is risky, but safer, definitely. The chances of anyone ending up in a plane crash is 1 in a billion.
Yes.
So that ratio says it all. And you ending up in a car wreck is 1 in like a few hundreds. So anyone ending up in a plane crash is very rare. Everyone who flies an airplane is trained to handle any kind of emergency. Before you get into it, it might sound scary and all, but the way your training goes, you'll be prepared for it. Every pilot anticipates an emergency. You know, we keep thinking, what will I do if this happens with my airplane? As a passenger, you should be safe. As a person who is trying to become a pilot, a plane crash should not scare you. Always remember, everything was not perfect from the get-go. Even the Wright brothers crashed multiple times before they did their first flight, which became historic. So, never look at a failure. Look at it as something that you can use so that you get safer and you don't end up there in that position.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, as you said, pilots are trained in such a way that we get to know about the safety systems that are available in the aircraft, and we get to fly. So, how do you train the aspiring pilots like me, myself, who are having proper zero experience? How do you train them?
We start off with the basics. You know, we start with the basic thing like stall, and then we progress, you know, one step at a time, right? You'll be experiencing engine failures, you know, we'll be demonstrating all that, you'll be doing it, you'll practice all of that. You'll have electrical failures, radio failures, name it. You know, as you move on to a multi-engine airplane, you'll be doing VMC or flying at the lowest airspeed with only one engine. How to recover from VMC, you know, if you get into one. I don't want to talk too much about what it means or what it does, but these are, you know, as you progress, you get into, let's say, a jet, right? Part of your type rating, that's what you'll be learning as well, how to handle different emergencies in that specific airplane. And if you do upset recovery training, like I used to do before, you do demonstrate spins, all kinds of aerobatic maneuvers, and that teaches you how to properly control an airplane. So we take it one step at a time, you know, introduce the basics to the highest level. So you'll be, and the main thing that we actually focus on is that you have to anticipate for an emergency. You have to keep thinking. So it's not like emergency will tell you before it happens, right? It happens out of nowhere. So
obviously,
that's what we tend to do. That's how we train.
Okay. So in India, several flying schools are having their entrance exams, like in IGRUA and several private flying schools. So are there any entrance exams, specific entrance exams for any flying schools, particularly in USA?
No, not any. None of the flight schools actually require any of that.
Okay.
They don't do that.
Okay. Okay. So next comes just preference question. In India, several people think that having a degree before joining aviation is pretty much helpful. So, what's your take on this? Should an individual join aviation career or any flying school after his or her high school, or after getting a degree, or after the completion of an individual's graduation?
It depends on every individual personality, right? It depends
Okay.
on what your end goals are. Why do you want the degree? Helpful in what sense, right?
Okay.
Because I did computer science engineering in India before I moved to the US to become a pilot. Trust
Okay.
me, not a single bit of what I learned in my degree came to use, right? Now, if you ask me any question from those times, I don't remember anything because it's
Okay.
useless for me. So,
Okay.
aviation is something completely different. And the younger
Okay.
you are, the easier it gets because you'll have that many years that you can actually fly.
Yes. Uh, as you said, you are an engineer. I'm also an engineer pursuing my BTech, and I'm in my third year. I'm actually pursuing electronics and instrumentation engineering subject. So I framed up all these questions only, and at the end of this video, I'll just ask you to give some tips for the aspiring pilots, and what is the success mantra in this field, particularly in this aviation field or pilot training field.
So, uh, number one, don't look for the money. Don't run after the money. All of you might have seen the recent example. Don't become one. Don't make yourself an
Yes, sir.
example for someone else. So don't
Yes, sir.
run for money or fame. That's not
Yes.
why people become pilots or whatever they become. Like Air Rahman wouldn't have won an Oscar if the only reason he became a musician was to win an Oscar, right?
Yes,
He
sir.
became a musician because he loves that field. So, and he excelled in it. He worked hard, he excelled, and eventually he got what he deserved, right? So,
Yes, sir.
whatever you're looking for, you'll get it at the end. Don't
Yes, sir.
look for the end product. So, think about now where your true passion lies, what you actually want to do. A lot
Okay,
of
sir.
people, they become, they get into engineering like you and me, and then they move to flight training. The
Okay,
reason
sir.
I did that, because even I'm from India, that's what my parents wanted me
Yes,
to
sir.
do, and that's what I did. It's not because I personally wanted to do anything. Now
Sir.
that I know that, my advice, if your true passion is to become a pilot, just become one. You have to fight for it. You will have
Yes,
to
sir.
be not able to sleep
Yes, sir.
because you're not becoming a pilot. That's how it should be.
Yes, sir.
And everything else, forget about it. Once you start your training, again, patience, have it. Don't expect to become a pilot overnight. It takes time. It takes hard work. It takes a lot of. You'll be under a lot of pressure financially. You'll be mentally. You'll have to endure all that. The only way you can do that, which I always believe, is because of your passion.
Okay. So I just left one question, and it's pretty much relevant. What's the average course fee in US in INR? Average.
I'll tell you in USD, and you can convert it and put
Okay,
it up on
I'll
the screen.
convert it. Okay, sir.
It depends on which school you go to. Number one,
Okay.
there are some well-established schools like I don't know if I can take the names.
Okay.
A couple of them in Florida, which
Okay.
are considered among the costliest flight schools in the world itself.
Okay.
But even there, it costed me around 90,000 USD, 90 to 95,000 USD.
Okay.
But you can go to schools which are 30 to 40,000 USD, and be careful
Okay.
with those schools because they are the ones which most of them have been going bankrupt, and when they shut down, your money goes with that. So always be careful, look at the reputation of the flight school. As I said before, don't look for the money.
Yes, sir. And another question, last one, is that in India, several airlines are starting off with their cadet programs like Indigo, AirAsia, and SpiceJet. They currently have. So, what's your take on this? That should an individual consider being trained on the cadet pilot program, or they should go for conventional ones? Because in India, it costs you around average. It's 1 crore in India. So, what's your take on this, sir?
It depends. When I was back in the US, I was training the Chinese airline cadets
Okay.
who used to come from Air China, Shenzhen, and other major airlines from there. I don't know what the contract they're asking you to sign in India because in China, it was a 99-year contract. You're bonded for your life. So, for any reason you cannot fly an airplane anymore, they were becoming baggage handlers in China. A guy who became a pilot. So I don't know the specifics of the cadet program in India, but if you are planning on getting into one, look at the contract, read it carefully, see what it says. Now that I think you said that the individual has to pay for their training, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Entire
in that case, the contract wouldn't be that bad because in China, the companies pay for their training and they bond you for life. So it is a good opportunity because you'll be trained and you'll have a guaranteed job. But just because you have a guaranteed job, the side effects of it would be your attitude problems. Your attitude changes dramatically.
Yes, sir.
People will be thinking that, okay, I have a job, I'm only here in a flight school just to get a license and then I'm good, for the rest of my life. That is the kind of attitude that pretty much gets a lot of people out of the program itself. So,
Yes, sir.
become a cadet of an airline, that's good. You'll have a job, that's great. But don't let that get into your head in such a way that you think you're bigger than anyone else, around you. So, that's me.
Okay, sir.
That's me, and that's my opinion.
Okay, sir. So, sir, that's it for today. Thank you for answering these questions. These are some relevant points which I have discussed. If you have some questions, just drop me in my Insta handles below, and I'll just put it up with Sanjay sir, Captain Sanjay, and I'll just let you know personally. So just drop me in the Insta handle or you can mail me. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.
Bye bye.